Oh, welcome to the Really Coding channel. My name is Jay. This is my fourth attempt to make this video because I leave my mic on mute. So we're gonna start over from scratch. This is the fourth series in my Cookiecutter Django attempt at making a tutorial series. I have a feeling it's going over gangbusters out there. This is we're gonna look at Allauth. Sorry, I was on my game and then I looked down. I realized I was muted, and now here we are. You guys are going to get the worst version of the video, but that's okay. All right, so with Cookiecutter Django, Allauth is already included. It's installed by default, and when you run the Cookiecutter on the package, you will get a couple of options that affect the settings. It's already installed in there. If we go into the config folder, which, if you remember correctly, is where our URLs are, as well as our settings. In URLs, you'll find counts Allauth. That's standard whenever you're setting up the Allauth package. It's one of the things you do is you include the Allauth URLs. Allauth handles all of the user authentication stuff. It's a really well built package. I've had a lot of senior developers tell me just don't even bother trying to roll your own authentication. And when you got packages like this out there, why would you? If you don't know about Allauth, it's a great package. Go ahead and close that. It's a great package for authentication. It's got social accounts, multi-factor authentication. It can use user sessions natively or naturally or whatever. It's got a lot of great. It's just a great package, and it's a well-proven package. It's been around for a while, and they've just recently updated over the last couple of months or so to be just a little more sophisticated and a little more complicated. When it comes to Cookiecutter Django, it's automatically installed with the rest of the project, and the settings are already set. If you come from just building from Django tutorials, there's a lot going on. It might be overwhelming. And also in the config in the config folder and in the settings folder in base.py, this is the top of that file where I would have started earlier if my mic was on. When you scroll down, you'll find a lot of stuff, right? It's a lot. It's a lot more than you get whenever you just start project with the Django package. All very well documented. As you scroll down under Celery, you'll find accounts. The account. This is all for Allauth. So, for instance, we have account allow registration. This is set to a Boolean or defaults to true. You won't find this. You won't find this environment variable in your local environment variables. You will find it in your production. Right here. So you can change this to false for production, and you won't if you want to deploy without allowing people to sign up just yet. Like maybe you just want your marketing pages out there. It's a good choice. If you set this to false, before I save, let me show you that. Well, this is the sign up page, and I am zoomed in, which is why it looks so crazy. There's a sign up button right here, sign up link. If I refresh, if I click on it, the header isn't in these sign up templates by default, but if I change this to false and then hit save, if I refresh now, I need to remove that. Sorry, I was playing with some stuff the other day. So it redirects to a sign up closed, or just uses the sign up closed message, I should say. We're still on the sign up link, but we're not allowed to use it. Okay, so if I go back to the home page and hit refresh, you can see the sign up button's gone. So that's just, this is basically just all, you could go watch a Django Allauth tutorial for a lot of this. It's basic Allauth stuff. But, Cookiecutter Django is a little more complicated. There's a lot more going on in terms of how, it's just really well built. So it's filled out already. So it's nice to know where things are. Account allow registration. There's account authentication method is set to username because of the settings that I chose. Account email required is true. Account email verification is set to mandatory. And you can go to the Allauth docs and find all of the options for all of these, and then there's more settings that you can use. If we go to the docs here, is that under installation, requirements, account configuration? You can see that there's quite a bit going on that you could work with if you need to. Everything from rate limits to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Username blacklist. You could set a list of names that you don't want users to be allowed to use. Also, just found out the other day that account user display is a token that you can use that will output either the usernames or the user's username or email, depending on which one they're using to sign in with. So that's pretty cool. And instead of having an issue where it's and I have you think why would you run into this issue? Well, I have actually ran into this issue because if you display, well, I ran into issues where I for whatever reason we switched from the email to the username, and then I had to go through all the templates and clean everything up. But if I had used this account user display, I wouldn't have had that issue. So I think what it is when you switch to user, or when you switch to email and then you remove the username, and then all of your templates throw an error because you're displaying their name somewhere instead of their email. But either way, I mean, it's a small thing, but it's pretty cool. Account username validators, account username required. So there's a lot of options in Allauth, and not all of them are used here. Obviously, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of what was probably 20 different options that you can choose from. Account adapter comes from the Cookiecutter users adapters. So if you go, and just keep in mind that Cookiecutter is the name of my package. So it could be anything. It could be called project.users.adapters. But in the users folder for your project apps, which in my case it's called Cookiecutter, not a smart move on my part. This is the adapter that it's referencing. Oops. You have account adapter and you have social account adapter. This one is referencing account adapter. Okay, so if you ever need to mess with your adapters, there you go. Account forms. So this one's coming from, again, project.users.forms instead of the default form from Allauth. So by default, it's set to the user sign-up form from Allauth. What the Cookiecutter Django package does is it extends that form. So if we go to forms in the user package, you'll see that there's a user admin change form, there's user admin creation form, there's a user sign-up form, and a user social sign-up form. Now, if you check this out, what you're going to see is that from allauth.accounts.forms import sign-up form as well as the social sign-up form. And if you go look at these, it's extending those. So what that does is if you go look over at the repo, this is actually, I traveled, this is about where I realized I was on mute, so bear with me. Okay, so it was in Allauth, right? We're following the path. I always thought this was cool. When I found this out, when I realized like this is how this works, I thought it was pretty cool. I know it probably is common sense to most people, but I was like, whoa, you mean that if you just like look at the path here and then you go to the repo, you'll find the thing that it's referencing? That blew my mind. So just so you know, yeah, I mean, you can go to Allauth, social accounts, and forms. So, wait, not social accounts though. We want Allauth accounts, right? We want the top one. Accounts, forms. So I'm in Allauth. I go to accounts, and then I go to forms. Okay. And in this file, you will see that there's a lot of forms available for the Django Allauth system. A lot of them are used. Emailware, password reset token generator, password verification mixin, password filled, set password filled, which is extending password filled, login form, which is what is put in to the you're using it raw, like it's not being extended from Allauth. This is it. And again, I need to remove that. I'll show you where that's at in just a minute, but I was playing around. This is the default login form. It's not being extended. You could extend it, not a problem. You could just like they extend the sign up form here. You could do the same exact thing with the login form and then add fields. I'll show you that in just a second, the add fields part. But that's the login form that is used by default. And when you extend something like this, you're going to get everything that's in it, the methods and all that. And then, but then you can add fields and whatnot. So use credentials. It's a method on the login form. Def clean, def login. Those are all methods. Custom sign up for dummy custom sign up. Okay, so I'm not sure what that is. Invoke at sign up time to complete the sign up of the user. Cool. Base. This is more methods on that dummy form. Base sign up form. Okay, so this extends base sign up form class from somewhere deep in their package. I don't even see it being imported. I wish it would stop scrolling so weird. Yeah, it's in and around here somewhere. It might be in this file actually. Yeah, this is the base sign up form, and then down here we get the actual sign up form that extends that base sign up form, right? So if I were to take, see if I can find, I need like let's find a char. Okay, no, that's fine. I'll just take this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this extended version of that sign up form, the user sign up form here. Down here, I'm going to put key. I'll just change it to, I don't know, extra. Hit equal, hit save. Now when I go, you know what? Let me comment that out real quick. Hit save. Hit back, hit refresh. Did I ever change that variable? I didn't. Okay. So in base, I didn't save. I had adjusted this variable to false earlier, and I didn't hit save after I fixed it. So now we have our sign up form, sign up button. This is the form. Email, username, password, password again. All of these fields relate to either it's either going to be a field in the sign up form from Django Allauth. If I can find that, let me search sign up. Yeah, let's make this as difficult as possible. Okay, so I don't see any fields on this. It starts with methods, right? And it extends base sign up. So let's go up to base sign up. Where's that at? Right here. And you'll see that there's a username and an email. And base sign up form class. So the password is being attached to the form through this mixin. It's not important really. I mean, it's important, but it's not necessary to know exactly how that's working because it, and we can search for this. But you should not really need to mess with that very much. Uh-oh. It's in here. It's in here, but whenever I tried to hit Command F on the selected text, it just popped up with that. So we won't worry too much about it. Anyways, so those are the default. But let's say you want a CAPTCHA. Let's say you want, I don't know, maybe I built an app one time where the user had to enter in their zip code, and if it wasn't within the range of the operation area, it just wouldn't let them make an account. It wouldn't tell them why or what, because you don't want people to just, oh, I just need to use this zip code I can get in. But it would be like, you're not in the right area. Right, so if you want to customize the form, typically you would have to pull the form in, and then you would extend it using the same way you'd make a model form or a form for that anything, extend any class in Python in or outside of Django. You would take it, you put it in as the, as the parent, as the thing that it's extending. And then you can add methods, you can add fields, you can add whatever. In my case, for the sake of demonstration, I want this extra field that's a char field. So I hit save there. Now if I come back over to the registration page, I can scroll out a little bit. Waiting for it to reload. You can see that I have an extra field now. I mean, it's literally called extra. Let me fix the, oh God, of course I was muted earlier and now my screen's hanging off the edge. Apologize about that. Let's go ahead and get it back in shape there. Okay, so all I did was I added a char field from the models package, or from the forms package. I called it extra, and now I've got this extra here. Now, what do we do with it? You'd have to process it in your own little way. If it's a field on the user, it should fill out automatically. It should automatically just find that. If it's anything else, you might have to extend the sign-in view. If you decide to go with some kind of CAPTCHA service, typically that hooks in really nicely anyways. You don't have to do a whole lot of extra to make sure that the CAPTCHA, the user is not a robot. Little things like that, but we don't need that extra filled there. We're going to have sirens here for just a second. Okay, so that's the model forms, or I mean that's the Allauth forms. Again, Cookiecutter Django does a great job of setting us up for success. So when you come in here and you look around, you'll see that we have our forms, we have our URLs already plugged in, we have a lot of our settings already set up and plugged in. We just went over the form. Social account adapter, social forms, same thing. They're extended. They're in the user package. These are things you'd have to do yourself if you were to initialize a project from scratch. But they're set up and prepped and ready to go. But they also didn't put a bunch of like extra opinionated stuff in there. Like they didn't make any assumptions. They set it up. They laid it out for you to play it out. All right, so super easy. I have had a lot of people struggle with the templating system, so we'll look at that next. The best advice I can give you is let the Allauth views do their job. Don't try to overwrite them unless you know what you're doing. Don't try to you have Allauth. Don't try to roll your own authentication. Work with it, not against it, and you'll be fine. It's very intuitive and it's there to help. It's just people, I've seen a lot of developers get confused with it or not understand the scope of it and try to work in and outside of it and still use parts of it, and then it turns into a nightmare. It's much better just to use your settings. If you want a different form, hey, you don't even have to use I don't know why you wouldn't, they're extended. But if you need to change the form for whatever reason, you can do that, Okay. If you want to change the forms, you can do that in the settings. And like I showed you just a minute ago, in here, there's a ton of other options that you can pick through to, make whatever login, log out, sign up experience that you want within the realm. A couple of things is like, for instance, invites. Actually, relatively easy in my opinion to set up an invite situation. Let's say you have a user. Let's say you want that user to be able to invite people to their dashboard or their project or whatever object that they're working on in your website. And typically the way that would work is they would enter in the invitee user email. That user would get an email saying, hey, you've been invited to this. Whenever they click through, they would have to create an account, unless it's one of those, like share openly, but then why are you entering an email? Just send a link, right? But then they would create an account, and when they create that account, their email is already attached to whatever thing that they were being shared. Allauth doesn't provide that functionality, but if you think about it, that'd be really easy just to put that parallel to Allauth and let Allauth do its thing. But then all you would really need is just a invited user model that attaches to whatever thing that the person wanted to share. And then whenever they create the account, you use a signal to check that model to see if their email's in there, and give them access to anything that they need based on that. So super easy actually to do an invite system, and I don't know how many people actually need that, but Allauth does not provide that type of functionality. I think it's out of scope for what they do anyways, but they're pretty much staunchly seem to be not interested in that function, in providing that functionality, which is totally fine. There's so many other things on here that they do provide that's great. And that's not so much an authentication thing as much as it is a user feature of a different kind. So anyways, when it comes to the templates, now I said all that just to show you that like it's already set up. It has the ability to be customized. It's really well set up. It's filled out to a point where you can customize your stuff here. I don't know what you would actually need to do with the and keep in mind, a form is a form. We're talking about the form, we're talking about the fields, we're talking about the submit button. Okay, we're not talking about the color of it or what text is in it, within reason, because as you can see, there's some warnings here. Also, you could add more. You could add help text and things like that to the fields on these if you wanted to. So you could technically do a little more, but I think it's already done. I think everything's done with this. There's not so much, like, there's almost nothing you need to do with the forms and whatnot. But when I'm talking about the forms, I'm talking about the actual functional mechanism itself. I'm not talking about the styling. Okay, if you want to talk about the styling, we got to get into a different area. So we have the settings, we have the forms, we have the URLs, all ready to go with the views. Now, the way that Django's templating system works, and I should say the way it works when it's set up properly, when the settings are correct. If we search for template, see down here we have our templating system. Let's see if we can find Allauth. Right here. Okay. The way it's going to work is that whenever a template is called by a view in Django or in Allauth, there's views in Allauth that are being used that you're using under account views. There's the login view, for instance, right? So this is actually a class-based view. If I can click out, there you go. So it's going to be, there's a lot of mix-ins here that, like the default Django form view that comes from generic views. And then Ajax capable process form view mix-in, redirect authentication, authenticated user mix-in, and a couple that come from Allauth themselves. It gives you the form class, which is the login form, which you can extend. Template name, which is account.login. So with the template extension, which is HTML. So the reason why that's important is because if you go to account, and then you go into templates, which nope, actually I'm sorry. If you go to Allauth, which is the main package folder, and then you go to templates, then you go to account. These are all of the templates that come from the package. So when you have Allauth installed and you have the URLs installed and a user goes to the login page, it calls the Allauth URL for the login, the Allauth, which calls the view for the login. Where did it go? Calls this view for the login, which in turn calls the form, and then it calls the template. It calls from accounts.template.html. So the way that your, at least with Cookiecutter Django, the way that your templates are set up, and in most cases, when it's set up correctly, you can run into errors if you're not careful. So you definitely, if you're watching this and you're not using Cookiecutter Django, you're just using Django. Which is, I mean, if you're, just using, if you just initialize your own project without the boilerplate, you want to make sure that your templates are set up correctly to do this. But the way it works is that whenever the template is called, then it's going to look in account. It's going to look for a file called login.html. So it's going to look in your templates in your project first. So if we go look at those templates, which would be under templates outside of any app folder. If you go look at account, you'll see that Cookiecutter Django automatically gives you this customized base manager password or base managed password file, which all they do is they wrap it in some bootstrap elements, and then it extends from there. So if we go look in, if we go look at the login template itself, so we go to Allauth templates, and then we go to account, and as you can see, there's a ton. There's that same file, but it's being overwritten. No, it's not that's not the one. What was it called? Base manage password. Base manage password. This is that same file. So if that template's ever called, by default it would find this file and use it, which is just extending base manage. But because we have an overwritten version of it in our template file or template folder under the account folder, it will use that one instead, which is the same idea for for customizing all of these. Albeit it has gotten a little more complicated with the way they do the form now. So this is the login. So if you read this, you can see extends account base entrance, and just like with the base manager, if you come over to Allauth and you go to layouts, you'll see that this isn't the base. This is actually base entrance, which base entrance should extend entrance.py. Let's go for .html. Let's go find out. We'd have to come out one more. It is confusing. I know if you're sitting there and you're going, man, this is a mess. One, I'm not great at teaching. Two, it's a lot going on too. So if we go into layout, we see entrance. This is that same file that extends auth layouts base. Okay. Mine just extends base. Well, this is let's go to the entrance one. Oh, we're already in there. Just extends base. But the default one will extend the auth layout base. So if we go to auth layouts base, this is that file. As you can tell, there is no header or footer. This is why, we're, yeah. Anyways, so the way this works now, and I don't know how new this is, but it's pretty new. I guess in like the last year at least, or 2 years maybe. I don't really remember. I know that there was a period of time before now where it was much easier to customize these things. And if we look at it now, it's a little crazy, but also at the same time, that's only if you just get over, like, if you don't know which direction to go, and it can be messy. But if you actually look at it for what it is, it's very simple. They made it a lot easier. For instance, inside of the Allauth login, go back to templates, account login. We've got these template tags that get loaded in. This block head title, block content. So this is the part that gets injected into here. So everything in the login file inside of this content block is going to be injected into the content block of the entrance file, which is it has a body block, and I'm currently using base.html. So if we go look at my base.html, you can see that there's all this stuff, but the body block has the navigation in it, and all of this stuff gets overwritten with the stuff from the body block of the entrance file. So if I wanted the navigation, I could take my nav, cut it, put it outside this body block, and it won't be overwritten anymore. So if I come back to sign up now, you can see we have the heading, because what is in well, this is the home page anyways, but this is actually, yeah, because it's not overriding any blocks from the base.py on the home page template. So this is the base.py template. It just has this boilerplate text in it. But all of this was getting overwritten from the body block, and now because I've moved the navigation, we currently have the heading down there. We could do the same thing with the footer as well, if we wanted to. So we're getting really we're getting layers deep, right? So we have the login.html file, which you build the content block, and then that content block overwrites the content block in the entrance file, which overwrites the block in the base.py file in my case, because that's where I've got this pointed, and I'm pretty sure that's default, but I'm gonna change that the other day. So just in case, you might want to look if it doesn't say Allauth layout, it's probably, if it just says base, but just make sure that it's set up the way that you want. What I like to do sometimes in these files is just kind of like spread them out to see what blocks are in here, because it does get pretty messy, right? So that was a mistake. This is the header. This is the block title for the tab title of the page. Then you have your CSS block and your body block, and this block.super is going to fire the original block from the whichever extended file. We have a body class, and we're loading I18 in, which is for translations. In most cases, it does other things, but 95% of the time I've ever seen that loaded into a template, that's what it's doing. Is it's setting up text to be translated. So this is the entrance. Managed.html is for the internal stuff like password management and whatnot. And why is this important? Well, for one, if you go look at the account folder, you'll see that there's only one overwritten template. You can make more. So for instance, I can take this. This is the login, right? Yeah, this is the login.html file. I can copy it. I can come over to account, new file, make sure it's named the same. That's very important. Make sure it's in the account folder. That's also very important. I can hit save here. And even though you won't see anything, I guess I could put something in here. Let's do block content, H1 element. Let's do an H1 style color red. We'll say hey. Okay. So now if I go to login on my app, it should pick up that template instead of the default Allauth template from the Allauth package, and we have a red hey there. Okay. So that's that you can overwrite all the templates by doing that. But when you go actually look at the template, you're still going to go, but like, where's the HTML? Where's the CSS? Like, you have the sign up URL, and even that is if not social account. You have another thing down here that determines if it's a button or a link. Where's that at? Right here, I believe. I don't know, right? But it's a messy. It's messy. Okay, so you got to do a little bit more of a deep dive into it. You got to look at it and you go, okay, what's going on here? Well, what's going on is that we're loading these Allauth and account template tags, and then we're using them. So in the block content, you see this element H1 tag. We can actually go find that in the repo under template tags. Maybe an account. No, it's going to be in the Allauth template tags. Wait, that is the Allauth template tags. No, it's not. Yeah, it's a little confusing. The account folder is in Allauth, so the account folder has its own template tags, and then there's this template tag folder that's on the same level as the accounts folder that has the Allauth tags. And there's a lot going on in here. So we have no, there's not. It's because we're in app settings. Okay, here we go. So we have this. There's a couple things here. You have this parse tag function, a do slot function which uses the slot node, so it sets up these nodes, and then you have this do element function which uses the this is the element from that template right here. Well, that one, and then this one right here. This element's this one's for form, and we're setting the form equal to the form from the view that gets passed in, and then the method is set to post. As you can tell, that is actually hard written. Action log is the login URL from the view, from the login view, and then the tags is entrance and login. And this is a end element, so this is actually a tag that is generated within this. Oh yeah, it's over here within this function. You can see that it says do element, and then it takes. Just jumped on me. It takes the tag name, args and quargs, parse tag, token parser. So it uses that parse tag function up there. And if this is confusing, don't worry about it, because that's the whole point, is that it's too confusing really to mess with this stuff. Which is why I'm showing it, because kind of understand how it works. Essentially, these functions combined build the form, but they don't. It's not the same as your typical pass a form in, use your form tag, and then it outputs all the stuff. It's a little more complicated than that. They build the nodes. They use this element nodes, and then they build this list of nodes. One of them being even the button, based off of the form that gets passed in and some other criteria that it takes, some input that it takes. So it builds out this node, and it does all the logic to determine, and it gives you it builds out this it's attributes, right? But it's ATTRS, dictionary, object, collection, and then it spits that out. It renders to string. It takes all the template names from all of, and okay, so this is where it gets a little more. Let's see if we can open this. If we go into templates and we go into account, and then we go out of account because it's not in there. If we go into, oh shoot, no, it is, but it's up here. So we go into, Is it not in here? Messages, snippets, maybe it's under Allauth. Oh yeah, okay. So under Allauth in the templates folder, under elements, you'll see that there are a lot of, well, where the heck did it go? Oh, it jumped up here. Okay, these are all of the elements that are, for a form. So you have an alert, you have a badge, you have a button, you have a field, you have fields, form, H1, H2, HR, that's a line break or separator, image tag, panel, provider, provider list. So the provider and provider list are for the social logins, and you have table. Okay, so what this is doing is it's looping through, it's deciding what each element is, and then it's finding the correct template for that element, and then it's building this object of those elements, and then it renders it to a string where it pulls all of the HTML together into the form in order, and then it generates a form, or makes a form available to be generated, I should say. But it ends up spitting out. So those are all the template names it takes, and then it passes this context to those templates. So you have ATTRS, you have the slots, and you have self original template name replace HTML with nothing. So I'm not sure what that is exactly, or origin, or maybe it's giving you the template name without HTML at the end, which is funny because that wouldn't work in a situation where we saw earlier that it's building the templates based off of the settings file extension, and then down here, if that file extension was whatever else .xml, it would not work the same with that origin. So I'm not sure how important the origin is, but yeah, I mean it's a little weird to do it that way and then do it this way, but hey, whatever. So anyways, yeah, so that's exactly what what this element thing does, this element tag. These are the slots they get put in. It's very intuitive as to what's what. So if we go look at the repo again, if we go look at these templates, we can see that the form template, this is the form. As you can see, it's now taking things from the ATTRS method, and it's building out the slots. The fields is essentially printing out the form from ATTRS. So you can, so one thing that I tried, that I actually successfully did, but it ended up kind of being, I didn't feel like it was good practice to do it, so I reverted it back. But let me see if I can find that real quick. Is over in accounts, Allauth, elements, fields. If I hit Control Shift Z, I should be able to go. Oh, Control Z. Okay. So what I did was I have this kind of like form block that I use where I break down I use this as a general form for things. I can inject the button and the URL for it. So I like that it's all broken down. I have these form fields. I don't typically use Bootstrap, so I can wrap everything in my own custom elements and whatnot. So I decided to try to use that for this because I noticed that the form was coming here. It's using crispy forms, the crispy tag. So I commented that out. I built my own form. I put the URL account login right here as the action, and I hit save. And if I come over here and I hit refresh, it does. Why is that red H1 still there? Where did we do that at? Right, we did it in the login page. Where is that? Hey. Did we do it in entrance? Uh-oh. Well, I don't remember where actually where that came from, so that's funny. But as you can tell, like it's now my form. I'm gonna have to track that down. I don't know. I can't remember where I put that, where it's from. But you can see that width 150 is right there, which is the same as right here, width 150. So this is now my code. I overwrote the form that comes from the template tag, from this ATTRS right here. But again, I looked at that and I said, you know what, that's probably not best practice for Allauth. So I went ahead and deleted that. It was good to know that there is at least a way to overwrite the form if I want to. I don't need this I18 in here anymore. Just need crispy tags. But I thought about it and I said, what exactly would I need to customize about the form? I must have deleted that and not saved the page, and then I just saved it from one of the ones. It wasn't fields.html, but it's gone now. But I was like, what would I actually need to customize about this form? Do I need more fields? Because I can do that from the form, the form extension. Do I need, what could I possibly need to extend? The only thing that I really need is like, look how long it is, right? And if I zoom out, still super long. It's crazy, you know. But I was like, why would I actually need to customize? I'm using Bootstrap, so why would I need to customize even the HTML for, another project I'm working on? So I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I don't. So they provide these layout. So all of that to say, the way that you would customize like this is probably you're just going to need to style it, right? You're just looking for a way to style the form. And the best way to do that actually is to just do it within the entrance.html file. So what I would do is just block content. You can wrap this. I can say form wrapper. Let me think here. Okay, I might actually have. Let's just call this user form, because I think I might actually have some styles or some residual styles, and I don't want it to look weird off the bat. So if I were to refresh now, you will see that I have no idea what I'm doing. No, let me zoom in here. You can see that I now have that user form right here, the user form wrapper. So I can then come in here and style it. So for me personally, I think I like to use this live editor plugin, which allows me to do things on the fly in the browser and then copy it over. So if I want to style user form, I could say max width of, I don't know, 500 pixels, margin. We'll say 30 pixels in the auto, and background. I think that the bootstrap variable is like BS gray. It is, but it looks pretty bad. Is it light gray? Let's do gray 300. That's a little better. And we can say padding. You know what? Some of this stuff. Here, you know what? Let's actually do this. So let's say rounded -4, and keep in mind I am using Bootstrap. These are Bootstrap classes, and so it's not a whole lot of CSS going on here. And then we can say padding. We'll do 4. And then for inline styles, which is something you probably shouldn't do. I know that the pre-commit linters throw a fit about inline styles, but for the sake of demonstration and not using a CSS style sheet, say max width, margin left, auto, because I don't want to overwrite top and bottom. I don't know why, but I don't. Auto. You know what? Let's actually overwrite top and bottom. So 40 pixels auto. Hit save. And then did I give it the background? I don't know. I don't know if there's a class for what I was trying to use, so I'll just put it here. Background var -bs gray 300. Don't forget the semicolon. Drop this down low. For any particular reason, but to be able to see it, I guess. Okay, so I don't need this anymore. I'll get rid of that. Hit refresh. All right, so if I zoom out to 100, you can see that I now have this kind of like cleaner form. It's no longer full width. It's got a background color. It still has this. I need to track this down. Where did that come from? Let's go find it. Okay, so I've got, you know what, let's copy it so that we can search. I was helping somebody out with this exact tutorial, I guess, the other day, and I was using this repo, and I'm not sure. Right here. Okay. So I have it in an H3 right there, so hit save. But the point is that all of the templates, even down to the elements themselves, the H1s, the whatever, are all customizable. All we have to do is take, the smartest way to do it is to take the version of it from the repo. So this is the HR, it's just an HR tag. H2, it's just an H2 tag, but it has the slot tokens in it. And just an H1, but it has the slot tokens in it. We can take this, if you need a class on it, you just copy this, put it into an h1.html tag within the elements folder, within the Allauth folder, and then you can put a class on it. So just as a quick, just to drive it in, is it in the elements folder? So I can say new file, h1.html. Oh. Hit enter, paste this in, and we'll say class, or let's do style. Style equals font weight, bold, color, green, hit save. Now the H1 on the page, which should be signed in right there. Let's just double check before I refresh. Yes, it is an H1. Hit refresh. Now it's bold and green. So it's that easy to overwrite these elements. To change the element. So let's say you don't want to use an H1 here for whatever reason, you want an H1 above it, and you want this to be an H3. Well, just, you can just alter the H1 accordingly if you want to. It'd be easier to do that than it would be to try to inject an H3 instead of an H1. So same with the fields. So in the filled, if I can open it, thank you. If we come down here, there's another weird little test I was doing. It says if ATTRS type is text area, then this is what it's going to output for the text area. If the type is radio, this is what it's going to output for the radio. Else, which is anything else, it's going to output this. So let's say I wanted to let's see if this works, and it might not. If it doesn't, then I'm not gonna try to just in case, display block, and then height 600 pixels. That way it's a lot longer. So technically the username and the password field should be 600 pixels tall, but worst case scenario, I guess we can check that they're not. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm still not entirely sure then where the okay. So that's on me. I'm still trying to figure out this part myself because it doesn't make a lot of sense. If this is where the fields are processed and the only options are text, radio, or other, then you would think that they would be from other, but they're not. And they, you know, this doesn't seem to have an effect on them. Look, you have this input, and then it's, yeah. So I'm still trying to figure that part out, but you know, at a certain point, it really becomes. Let's close a couple of these things. It becomes an issue, a situation where you take the wrapper around the content that is the form, and then you style directly on that. So if I go into the CSS style sheet to wrap this up, go into projects, you can see I've already got this. Let's just go ahead and take this form wrapper where I was doing this before. And then I hit, that was Control D, by the way, to select all those if you're not familiar with VS Code. Hit save. Now we'll see all of those things apply here. We have that green, whatever, a lot of green. I like green. Not so much with the red though. So, you know, at a certain point when you have a wrapper, you can really just kind of target in on the elements inside of it. You don't have to worry too much about directly affecting the elements. So even though I personally am still working on hunting down how the elements are generated and what elements are where, the CSS is now available, and we went from looking pretty ugly in full screen and no contrast to having this, you know, nicer looking login form to use, just like that. And instead of trying to customize you're trying to write, you know, instead of trying to write our own authentication, or instead of trying to break apart Django Allauth or get up in the guts of it and you know, mixing all that around, instead of trying to change the HTML, the form itself, we just gracefully work with the form, with the structure that's provided, with the tools that are provided, and then we complement it, we add on to it, we work around it as much as we can, knowing full well that like we have access to be able to add fields from the forms.py, and we have the ability to style it. We have the settings that we can change if we want to make, you know, we want to change it to a social login or whatever. And yeah, it becomes a not so complicated situation. So if I come in here and I say, let's make an account called steve@email.com. The username is Steve. We have this verify your email. And if you remember from one of the first tutorials that we did, I need to go to MailPit. Now it says I'm confirmed. You see how it's taking on that styling from the entrance? Hit confirm. Let's log in as Steve. Now we're on that account page from the second tutorial. But let's say that I want to go to my info. this is the base manager. So in kind of the same deal, where not under elements but under manage, let's say I take this element and put it around manage, put it around the content, not the main but the content, right? And we'll say close the div. Well, do it for me. I guess I set it, so it did it. And we hit refresh, we should see, oh, okay, well, this is Allauth. Now, now I'd like to know. Sorry about that. I'm gonna hit save. I want to make sure that was because of the manage and not because of the entrance. Okay, it was. Cool. So we have all these options that come defaults with Cookiecutter Django. The Cookiecutter Django set these up, and then we want our styles to be there. And even I know it looks horrible. That's not the point. I'm not. This isn't a styling tutorial. But where is the reset pass? I believe they've already got a reset password built in. Maybe not. Well, I guess you would MF two-factor authentication. And Authenticator app is not active. Recovery codes, no recovery codes set up, but it's taking on that same styling. If I sign out and go to sign in, go to forgot password again. So that entrance, and the entrance is pretty much anything outside of the logged in area, and the manage is going to be anything inside the logged in area that has to do with the account itself that comes from Allauth. So in the event where I logged in as I don't know if I have an account under that name, it just puts it in there by default. When I went to my info, you can see we got this form here. It's not taking on any styles. If we know that page comes from the user, not the templates, but from the user folder. If we go to views, it's this user update. The fields, the fields that, so it doesn't use a form, and it could. We could make a user form that just, right now what it does is it takes the user model. It's a class-based view. It's an update view. It needs a model. In this case, it's the user. The fields that it allows you to update is the name of the user and the success message, and then you get the success URL, which should send you to this redirect. So if we go look at the user model, we can see that the get absolute URL goes to user details. Okay. It doesn't use the redirect, but the redirect sends you to user details anyways. So I guess it just skips the middleman there, but you could change all that. You could go in, you could change the where it sends. So for instance, I've said this before, but after I build a dashboard and I have a view for a dashboard, I have a signal that anytime a user's created, a dashboard's created and attached to that user. Then I go and I make sure that the dashboard has an absolute URL on the model, even though you don't need it. It's just nice to be able to do the absolute URL instead of building out the entire reverse. But then I come in here and I change my user redirect view. I'll go change the user, the absolute URL view. Sometimes I use the dashboard, sometimes I use a profile, sometimes I use the user settings. It just depends on what type of application I'm making and how I'm feeling that day. What makes the most sense. But these aren't Allauth, right? So this update form, it doesn't have a built form, like it's not coming from here. It's just it's using the default update view. It is expecting a form. It sets the form up for you, and then we just tell it the fields we want to use. I'd put more fields, but well, there's last name. Let's say animal. I don't know. Let's just call it test. Models.char filled with a max length of 100. Then we need to import models from, well, just for the sake of demonstration, I would actually normally take that char filled import off and then just use models. And I'd go through, you know what, we can do that. Let's do this. We'll say import models. Get rid of that, and then down here would say models. There you go. So I'm winning today. I'm winning. All right. So we just updated a model, and instead of shutting down the server, I'll just open up a new command prompt real quick, and we are almost done here. If you get it, then great. If not, I don't know that I can help you anymore from here. But let's see. Say run, remove Django, and then we can say Python manage.py make migrations, all for the sake of demonstration. Oh, that is a good point. I was going to put it as null. So in this case, it's asking for a default because I didn't do null blank, so it can't have the field on there without something in it. So I'm just going to put, you know, blah, 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 blah. Now it made it. I could have also canceled and went and put null and true, null true, blank true on there. But that was easier. So then we're going to migrate real quick. And then back in this, this view, for the update view where it says name, we can now also give it test. However, I typically don't do this in the class-based view. I might even switch that to a form real quick. But now we have name and test, so where it did say just name of user, now it's going to say both of those. See, now we have our test, and it has the default value as the name of user, which does not have a default value. I mean, what do you, like, first name, last name on user accounts on the internet? I don't know. I guess it just depends. But it's about how that works, okay? So if we wanted to extend that a step further, we could say informs, I'll just go up here at the top. I'll say class, user, update. We'll extend, we have forms.model form. Now we don't need to make any extra fields, so I'll just say meta. The model is going to be user. Do we have that? We do. Okay, so it's importing it from there. Why? Django.contrib.auth import get. Yeah, that's a little weird. User model. Maybe there's a reason why they do that, but it looks like they're getting the raw user model instead of the extended version, the abstract user extension from the user thing. But whatever, we'll say user.get user model. Should work the same way. That's the model, and then we don't need a comma there. And we'll say fields equals name and test. Okay, let's go import this into the views. From cookiecutter.users.forms import this form, and then down here in user update view, instead of having fields, we'll say form class equals user update form, and then we hit save. Now if we come back here, there should be no changes, which is good. It's just, it gives us a little more breathing room. Things are a little bit more built out, feels a little better. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's no difference between the two. You can do more with the model form, you know, built out over in the forms.py versus putting just the fields. You definitely need either a form or fields in your class-based views. You might not even want this view. You might want to blow it out to where it has all the user settings and the profile picture and all that stuff. So it's, you know, it is however you would like to make it. That's that's what you're going to do. But now, hopefully, you at least kind of understand a little bit of how to do it. I know that I was there were we were having some issues where some people were not understanding how to work with Allauth, and it's kind of complicated to explain it, especially for somebody who barely understands it himself. So hopefully this was helpful and shed some light on the situation. I would always recommend use the repos, use the documentation. Those are two different things. The documentation is going to tell you what and where and how. The repo is going to let you look at it. Okay, so between the two of them, get comfortable with both. It's not enough just to use it because it's easy. You need to understand how it works so that it can be easy. Because if you don't understand how it works, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a nightmare. You don't want to deal with that. So definitely come in, look at the template tags, get comfortable understanding that like there's an Allauth folder, and then inside of the Allauth folder is your accounts folder. They both have template tags. They both have templates. Oh wait, actually, the account folder doesn't have templates. They both have template tags. They have forms, models, the whole thing, right? So, and then also understand the reason why these things exist is because you don't need to understand how all of it works. It's there to do the job, but you need to know enough about it to be able to let it do its job while still working with it in the way you need to work with it, without interfering with it or breaking it or having a bad day because of it. So. The entrance.html file is your best friend for customizing in most situations. CSS can allow you to target things within that area, within the fields, the buttons, the blah, 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 et cetera, to make a customized experience. You can update the forms if you want to if you need to customize the sign in or the sign up or even the log out form. I don't know, again, what would you do? But I don't know, click this button. Well, you already have to click a button to log out unless you choose to just... There's an option in Allauth to where if you click log out, it'll just log you out. Or by default, when you click log out, it takes you to the log out page. You have to click log out again. But let's say you wanted to customize that form. You could customize the sign up form. You can customize all the forms. You just have to know where the forms are, how to extend them, how to add new fields. It's not complicated, but with most people, they just want to figure out how to style it. And honestly, the entrance.html is going to be the way to go. Just give it a good wrapper, and then style it from your style sheet. That's about it. Let's see. So on the next video in this series, I'm going to go into Celery. I might even do a little HTMX because I like those two things together. We'll have to see. Till then.